The third one is kind of neat. It's the search and populate data from another project. So what this allows you to do, you can see here that it allows you to basically search another project for data and then populate your current project with that data. You basically just pull it in from a query search. So I have this project here that I had for the big data import demo. It's just de-identified data, but it was something that had quite a bit of data in it. And so what I did was copied this instrument and imported it into this project. So that way I can search on it and grab the data from this project and pull it in. So the way you set that up is any project that you have access to will show up on a drop down here. And so I just picked the big data import. And if you have to look at the code books, all this does is open up the code book link for the source. So this is for the big data import demo. And this is the code book link for the target, the project that we're looking at today. And you can also find those links here for code book as well. This just shows you all of the fields and what field types they are and what field values are there. And then all you have to do is just select which form you want to link these to. And you can get more complicated here with the JSON mapping. If you leave that blank, it works just fine. But like, for example, if you didn't need all these fields, if I didn't just copy this instrument over to my project, and let's say I just wanted this storage address, I could go in and say that this storage address field from the big data import demo matches, whatever field I've called this new field in the new project. So all it's doing is it's mapping this source target for you. But if you leave it blank, it maps it automatically and just pulls all that data in. So you don't have to worry about that. So if I save this, and I'm going to copy this value here so you can see in the project. If I go to the dashboard, it has given me a search query up here. So if I just start typing like 329, it's going to grab anything where 329 exists. You can see here 1329, 2329, any of those records. And so if I just click on one of these randomly, it's going to show me what the data is for all of that. And so if I want to, like I'm looking for this specific storage address, it's going to filter on that. And when I click on this, I can review the data and confirm the copy over into my project. So now the data is here, and if I just click save and stay, now that data has been pulled in from my big data import demo to this project. And we've had projects over the years for people who they've been having they would have their participant information separate, and then they would have another project, or they would have kind of a source project, and then they would have little tiny satellite projects where they're pulling in this data. And they're entering this data manually. They're going through and kind of abstracting their big project and retyping all the data in their satellite project, or using drop-down lists and that kind of thing, or dynamic SQL queries. And so this is a way for you to quickly query a project and grab that data and pull it in one record at a time, and you don't have to create SQL queries or enter the data in manually. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to kind of link to projects and pull data in from it. Does anybody have any questions?
I have to say, those are some of the coolest external modules I've seen. This one in particular. I mean, I like the other one too, but this one, I can't even think of how many times I've come across people who could have used something like this, who want to be able to capture data from another project and, maybe not capture everything. So can you capture So here is you're in this project, you have this instrument and you have these fields. On a different project, you have like 5 instruments, but you want to take data from the different fields and plug them in here. Can you map that using the JSON thing so that it just populates this one from various instruments in the other
Yeah.
project?
Yeah, as far as that's how I figure it works. So if you had this source code book, let's say here, I think this is only one instrument maybe. Yeah. So if we had a project, let me look at another project that has multiple instruments. Something that I've done. Let's see. So I'm assuming it works the same way, where if you had all these instruments here, you would be able to grab any of these fields and pull them in. I think it might get complicated if you had repeatable instances or longitudinal arms, that kind of stuff. So I think it would be very basic. You can do branching logic, so you might be able to use the smart variables with the branching logic to fix that, and you would just have to set that kind of stuff up. I feel like you could probably get pretty complex with this, but like you were saying, you could probably take the first name and last name from this instrument, like whatever variables, the consent received from this instrument. And as long as you've created, and the fields don't have to be the same, like they could be called something different in the source project and the target project. All you would have to do is map them using the JSON.
How do you edit that JSON?
You just click on it and start typing.
Oh, I see.
Unfortunately, it goes away when you start typing. So what I ended up doing was left this up, typed it up in a notepad separately, because if you click on it, it doesn't let you copy it, which is weird. But once you would set up the JSON, and we could try it real quick if you want. So let's do, what project is this? And we'll do first name.
How about a consent? Is there a consent date?
No, not in here.
All right. How about consent received?
Yeah. And then we'll grab something else. And some of these might not have data in them. This is a test project.
Sure.
And I already have a first name here, so I'm just going to do F name. Last name. And one of the things that might be helpful too is if you named it, similar to like IE visit date, and then put the project ID there. That could be something that might help you, that way that it's coming in from a separate project.
Yeah.
And you'd have to match up. Because for me, the easiest thing was just to grab that entire instrument over and pull it in. But if you're building it like this one by one, you'd want to make sure that you're matching the field type and everything.
Right.
So let's see. So now if we go back to the configuration here, we're going to add another one. It's going to be the test. And then we're basically just going to type in this. So the source field for source field 1 is going to be first name. And the target field is going to be F name. And then last name. And then it was IE visit date. And IE visit date. What was it? 1491, I think.
Yeah, 1491.
1491.
Yeah, it's up.
I got it up there. Yep.
Yeah.
So validates. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into that project and just enter a record so we can see that it's grabbing it. And it might be, I see that we have events in that, so hopefully that doesn't cause a problem.
We'll find out.
Yeah. Visit date, so we'll say that's today. All right, so hopefully we have a record with my name in it. We'll go back to this one here. We've got the JSON validated here. We'll save it. Yeah, so it looks like it's not going to grab it.
Did you change the project it's looking at, though?
Oh, yeah, you're right. I don't think I did.
Which is interesting because that means that you can only do this for one project.
Yeah, you're right.
But it's good to know. So you want that other one that.
There we go.
Yeah.
So it grabbed the name. It didn't grab the. Because
It was
it's
6. Try 6.
Yeah, I think it was 6, but it's not grabbing the date. Yeah. But still, I mean, I think if we did a smart variable for that, wrong one. So it's probably screening visit. I'm wondering though, if we could use a smart variable in it because you're not using the square brackets like you do. You're using quotes.
So this looks more like, if we were querying a MySQL database, sort of. But I still don't understand why that doesn't come up since you've mapped it. You're just mapping the variables. The instrument is from the target or source, whichever you're calling it, is not identified, so it should pop up.
Yeah. So let's go to this.
Are we sure? Are we sure that it was showing up a date? Actually, is that the one you did, or did you do 6?
I did 6, but I thought I entered a new record.
Yeah.
So maybe. Make sure it's got a value in there now. Okay, we'll try it again.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you install external modules in the morning and learn them hours before your red zone.
Well, yeah, and you and then you start coming up with different questions or permutations. Then you're trying to figure it out on the fly. So your visit date must not be.
Yeah.
But you know, it doesn't matter. You have to delete it out of there first. There you go.
It's the same, right? Month, day, year.
I'm not sure if the other one was the same.
Yeah. Well, what we can do is see if it'll take it if it's just text. I mean,
well, it'd be something to play with. We should have, again, you know.
There you go.
All right. So, but you notice that even though, and this may have been the problem, see, so even though you identified the field as month, day, year, it's being held in the database as year, month, day. And so it's possible that it won't pass that exactly. It may only pass it, but you got this event date.
Yeah, I was just going to, oh yeah, see, because these are all text. Because I just left them as text because this was an import project.
Yeah. See, so it may be possible the external module won't pass the date in a month, day, year format. It'll only pass it as a year, month, day.
No, let's try that.
Possibly. Since that's the way it's being held in the
database. There you go.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting thing to note then. So
yeah.
It'll be good when we have this video on the website. It'll alert people as to some of the reasons things may or may not work correctly. And I won't be surprised if they don't enhance that at some point, but still it doesn't, all of this, the ability to grab this, including a record ID or whatever from a different project so it could be easily referenced and pull that data in, I just think is awesome.
Yeah, and I like the fact that it doesn't have to be a one-to-one copy of an instrument to an instrument. You could pick and choose and kind of cherry pick which values and data you're interested in and kind of mash it together in a different configuration in your new project. You know, you may not need all of that information. You might just need, you know, first name, last name, consent date. But it gives you a way to enter that. Because what's nice about it too is that it gives it to you in a field that is like a text field, because the problem that you run into with the dynamic SQL is that it's a drop down and you can't change any of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or if you use piping or a calculated field or something like that, it's not a text field, whereas you could pull this data in. It's completely unlinked from the original project. So if you ever had to come in here and change it, it's an actual field that you can edit and change.
Yep. Yep. That's great. For those, there's only 2 people here for the most part that would notice that, but can you go back to the JSON a minute?
Yeah.
Please. For those of you who are on, and if you want to do this at some point, I think what Manuel told you before, to copy it sort of offline somewhere on a notepad or whatever so that you can see the formatting, but this follows fairly standard coding process where you would have a comma after each line, except for the last one where there would be no comma. And then you'd use curly Q brackets instead of square or parentheses kind of brackets. So I know that most of, there's only 2 of you generally, but I know that you wouldn't probably write the JSON coding yourself, or if you would, you'd be playing around with it. But if you use the what's the other JSON external module?
Well, use JSON with the multilingual.
Yeah, but there's a JSON snippet, JSON.
There's a JavaScript.
Oh, there's a JavaScript. That's right. So anyway, so if you're doing this using the JSON mapping, it's not something you'd normally use. So just remember to look closely at the formatting to make sure that you see the double quotes and what it's around. You're not using square brackets. You're putting that colon in between the 2 and closing it in the curly Qs. So this is really cool.
Yeah, I think it's really neat.
Any questions?